Welcome back. Welcome back to learning here with us at MPB. I am Ms. Killen. We're learning Algebra 1 today, and we are in Lesson 12. We are finding a solution set to system of linear inequalities. I can interpret solutions and their meanings in or out of shaded regions in modeling of real-world scenarios. I'm looking at standards CED 3 and REI 1 and 2. All right, so a system of inequalities, they're like a system of equations. They're linear lines, will still be on graphs. Now with inequalities though, we have to worry about their shading. All possible answers to satisfy this system will be where their shading overlapped. And we looked at some of that in our last lesson, meaning where I have this purple portion, I had the blue up here, I had the pink right here, and in this purple portion is where my possible answers would be to satisfy or make this system true. That's what we're looking at. So let's see some problems. Let's work with these two inequalities. I have x plus 2y is less than 10, and 3x plus y is greater than or equal to 10. Graph the system and notice where their shading overlaps. If a coordinate pair looked like this, 4 and then a y value, which of the following are possible solutions for our y values? Select all that apply. So I'm going to use my calculator on the Desmos today. I want to use our Desmos calculator so we can see those overlapping numbers or overlapping shading, where I can also just plug them in how they're given in that standard form. So let's go ahead and everybody pull up your Desmos. All right, from our notes page, let's go ahead and put those inequalities in Desmos. So I've got x plus 2y is less than 10. Noticing I have a dotted line. And then the next one was 3x plus y is greater than or equal to 10. All right. So I'm going to zoom out a little bit. Now I see my red shading for my top, meaning all of those solutions would make my red equation true. Then I see the blue shading, all of those possible solutions to make that blue equation true. But I'm wanting to find a solution set to make the whole system be a true system. So what I'm doing is I'm looking in this purple portion. All of these possible answers in that purple portion would make this system of inequalities true. So when it asked me if I had 4 comma a number, which one that could be. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put that in. I've got my x value, which is 4, but now I have 4 possible y values. So let's just label them and see which one would work. We have 4 comma negative 3, label it. We had 4 comma negative 1, and let's label that one. The next one would have been 4 comma positive 1, let's label that one. And then our next one would have been 4 comma positive 5, and let's label that one. So let's see which one of these could possibly be an answer of that y value to make this whole system true. Okay, so I have the first one up here at 4 negative 3. It's in green. Well, it's slightly out of that purple portion, so my green one could not be an answer. So let's take that one off. So then let's look at the purple dot. The purple dot is in fact in that purple portion, so it would be a solution to this inequality set. So I'm going to leave it up. Let's look at the black dot. I have 4 positive 1. That is also in that purple portion. So that makes this systems of inequalities true. Now let's look at the red dot. It's above that dotted red line, just in the blue shading. So it would not make this system true. So I have 2 possible answers, that 4 comma negative 1 and that 4 comma positive 1 would make my solution sets. So it was positive 1, and negative 1. Good job. So let's look at the next one. It says, let's do some practice. Tisha is an avid reader of fan fiction and anime. Her aunt gave her money for graduation. Tisha decided to treat herself and spend most of the money, $200, on books. Books a Bunch is having a special sale where all fan fictions are $6 and anime books are $10. Tisha has a trip soon and has decided she wants to buy at least 15 books. Same as we always do with our passages, let's go in and circle and indicate some information. So we've got her $200. We've got fan fiction, which is $6, anime, which is $10, and she wants to get at least 15 books. So I'm going to have to write a system of inequalities. So let's go ahead and write that. Let's do number to number and then money to money. So let's go ahead and write that. So I'm going to have my fan fiction plus my anime to be what? At least, if not bigger, those 15 books. And then I've got $6 fan fiction plus $10 anime that has to be less than or equal to that $200. I can't spend more money than I've got. You just can't do that. So now that I have my system of inequalities, let's go ahead and graph this and see what some of our possible answers are. I'm going to use Desmos calculator if you want, Desmos if you wish. Both of those tools will help you, but I'm going to use Desmos. So let's go ahead and try. So I'm going to put in, since I can't do F and A, I'm going to do X and Y, fan fiction being my X, anime being my Y. So X plus Y has to be greater than or equal to 15. Now I'm going to do my money. 6X plus 10Y has to be less than or equal to 200. Whoa, all I see is blue. Maybe we need to zoom out some. There we go. So this is what my graph of these inequalities look like. So now on our notes page, that next question says, give some possible answers, okay? If the shading is the way it is and we're looking for that purple portion, just that purple portion, but can I have negative books? No, I can't. So I'm going to have to get back up here to these real numbers that are positive to look to see what possible answers I can get. So everybody look at that purple portion that's between my X and Y axis. Those are my possible answers. So if I was looking for some possible answers, let's see, could I have 8, 10? Yes, I could, because that is in that purple portion between that X and Y axis. All right, so then let's look at another one. What about 16, 3? Well, could I do 16, 3? Yes, I could, because it's in that purple portion between my X and my Y axis. What about this one? 6, 12. It is. And let's check this one. What about 3, 25? Nope, it's only in the red shaded portion. So I couldn't get 3, 25. I could only get those and many more, but the ones that we put that are in that purple portion between that X and that Y axis. Play around with yours and see what different options you can find in that purple portion that represent those real numbers of between the x-axis and the y-axis. See which ones that you can find. Make it a guessing game. Hey, I can get this. Can you get this? See what you can come up with. It's a good chance to play around with this Desmos. All right? So this is the system that we graphed. So we saw that purple portion right here between that x and that y-axis. That's where our possible answers could be. If we see an answer that's in that just the red portion or just that blue portion, it can't be a possible answer for that whole inequality. It's got to be where the shading overlaps. Good job. All right, so it's time for you to master. So let's look at this. Consider the following system of inequalities. I have my A and my B. Does an equation have, does the inequality have a dotted line? I should have put inequality, but I put equation. So let's look just by looking at what we've written. Would A be a solid line when I graphed it, or would it be a dotted line? Okay, remember, when I have a line under that inequality symbol, it is solid. Or if I don't have a line, that means it is dotted. So I would say that A would be solid, and then B would be dotted or dashed or however that you look at that. So that's fine. Now, B asks us, is 5, -5 a possible solution to this system? I'm going to give you just a minute. Go ahead and plug it in your Desmos while I plug it in my Desmos. And when you get finished, let's see if ours look the same. All right, does yours look like mine? Remember, where the possible answers to this system of inequalities is going to be in that big purple portion. Now, yours may not be purple. Let's say that yours is a different color. Maybe you have green and brown, or you have blue and green. It doesn't matter. Wherever the shading is overlapped is where your possible answers are going to be. So it said 5, -5. So let's go ahead and label that. So I'm going to have 5, -5, and let's label it. It's not in any of our shading. It's way down there in the white part. So it is not a solution. No, it's not. Now, C's question says, if a solution point was x, 3, what is a possible x value? So my y is 3. What could my possible x values be? So let's see. I have 3, 1, 2, 3 here. So I would go up. So anything after, what is that? Approximately 3, 1, and up. So what if I did, for my y being 3, oop, I did that backwards. I'm glad y'all caught that. My 3 would be on my y, 1, 2, 3. So here we go. So anything after maybe 1. So let's try. For my x value, let's say if I had 0.75, 3. Could that work? Nope, it's just in the blue. So what about if I did 14, 3? And let's label that. That's on my dotted. Now remember, if it's on a dotted line, it cannot equal. It can't equal if it's on the dotted line. It can equal if it's on the solid, but if it's on the dotted line, it cannot equal. So I can't have that one. So let's try another one. What if I tried this one? Let's do 5.75, 3, and let's label that one. That one is in my purple portion, so that could possibly be one of my answers. And there's many, many more that we could see, But remember, if it's on the solid, it can be a part. If it lies on that dotted line, it cannot be a part of that inequality system. Good job. I'm glad that we saw that. And remember, like I did, when you're looking for those x variables and you're having to use that y number, don't do what I did. Make sure you go up the y and then go over. Don't do the x yet. That was a good learning experience for me. All right, so let's go and see what we've got. We don't want to forget, inequalities are graphed with either a solid or dotted line, like we talked about. Possible answers for the systems are located where there is overlapping in the shading on that graph. And if there are questions about specific points of our graphs, I can always either pull a table, and we learned how to pull a table with Desmos or our calculator, or I can just put it on the graph and label it. And either Desmos or our calculator will help us with all of these. So we have multiple tools in that toolbox that will help us answer these questions. I am so glad that you came to learn here with us today at MPB. I'm Ms. Killen, and I want you to have a great day.